Another stupid issue to address. But if I didn't have some stupid issues to address, then I wouldn't have anything to fuss about on YouTube. So there was an article that came out early this morning. It was talking about Kylie Jenner. I think it's Kylie. It may be Kyrie. Nah, it's Kylie. And it was a story talking about how she was ruining the environment because she got on a jet, her own jet, by the way, and flew 13 minutes somewhere instead of getting in a car and driving somewhere. And all this hate came out because she didn't announce she was doing it. There's this group that's tracking people who are flying on jets lately. And they then at least had to acknowledge that it might not have been actually them, but it was their jets, so they're still responsible for it. So Taylor Swift took some heat. A whole bunch of other folks who I don't remember took heat for that. And I'm thinking, why is this any of your business? But a lot of people decided to fuss at them. And they were really mean. And you know what? Kylie don't care what you got to say. She's not reading it. She's living her good life. She's almost a billionaire. So you're fussing about something that means nothing to her. It really means nothing to you because one, it's none of your business. Two, one jet is not going to destroy the environment. Look, we're in a heat wave right now. We've got icebergs that are melting. We have wildfires all over this country and over in Europe. We've got drought. We've got all other kinds of things that we have to deal with that have been coming for the last 50 to 60 years, possibly longer. And you're worried about Kylie Jenner flying an airplane. Now, here's another story. Her sister, Kim Kardashian, she wore some kind of dress that I guess used to belong to Marilyn Monroe to the Met Gala in New York City a couple of months ago. And she happened to mention that she lost a whole bunch of weight so that she could get into that dress. And then she did some other stuff so she could gain some weight back after that part. And then she takes a lot of heat for that, saying that she's destroying women's images of themselves and that that's a terrible thing and she sets a bad example. And I'm sitting there thinking, one, she didn't do anything for you guys. She did it for her own self. Two, if that's bothering you, stop watching it. Stop going to her channel. Stop reading about it. Go do something else. If something is really distressing me, I move on to something else because I don't need that kind of thing in my life. And what you got? 10, 20, 30 million people who are following her, and the only people who are griping about it are the people, or saying anything about it, are the people who just want to yell at her, whatever. How's that working out for you? Make you feel better trying to pile on someone who, once again, is at least in the 600, 700 million club. She doesn't care what you have to say. She keeps putting stuff out. Y'all are just making her more popular. So that's pure idiocy. Save that for some people who really deserve to be fussed at. Like Alex Jones, who just got burnt by finding out that his lawyers accidentally sent these texts and messages that he told the other lawyers for the people whose kids were killed at Sandy Hook, that he had none of that stuff, but his lawyers accidentally sent it to them for 4 years worth, and the look on his face was classic. That's a guy who deserves it because he told everybody that the killing of all these kids was fake. And he knew he was lying. He deserves, if he gets hit with a $150 million fine, which is what they want, he deserves everything he gets, and they deserve all the money they can get. And I hope it bankrupts him because what he did is then tried to hide all the money, saying he was bankrupt, his business was failing and whatever. But what he did is just put them in shell companies and gave it to his family members, even though he's basically still running everything. There's a guy you need to fuss at. But you know what? We're not only talking about Kylie and Kim and Alex Jones. Let's talk about LinkedIn, because this is the thing that's been happening for at least the last 2 or 3 years, more than it ever did before, where there are predators. That's my term for it, and I'm going to stick with it. There are predators who are looking for people who are trying to discuss personal issues, which that's not what LinkedIn used to be about, but in their opinion, it has to do with business because they all have a story of something they had to go through so that then they could recover and do better in their business. But you get these people who come in there and they say some of the most vile stuff. You know, they will say these things to women. They will say these things to black people. They will say these things to Asian people. And the overwhelming majority of them don't have a picture. LinkedIn, these days, when Microsoft decided they wanted to turn LinkedIn into Facebook, you know, all bets were off. And so people will complain to LinkedIn, and LinkedIn supposedly will read these things and say, well, we don't see that they violated any standards. So then people will share this stuff, and then these people, these weasels, will complain to LinkedIn that they're being bullied, and LinkedIn will agree with them. But here's the thing. If you look at some of those profiles, because I do that, because they're not fussing at me, because no one cares about me, but still, I don't look at some of those profiles. A lot of those profiles that don't have pictures don't even really have any business listed. They're not really connected to anybody. So in other words, they're all fake accounts. And by the way, LinkedIn has a ton of fake accounts that they have learned how, some folks have learned how to make fake pictures that look like real people. I'll admit that's amazing. But they do that so that they can scam other people. And so they can go on sites and say all this negative stuff. Now, in that case, you can't get away from it. LinkedIn isn't protecting them. And, you know, they will have supporters from other sides, but these people will just get on there and say all this stuff. I've learned to block those people. So, you know, when I go and I look and I see they don't have any business stuff on there, they don't actually connect with anybody, then you can go in and you can block people on LinkedIn so you never see their stuff. But there's a heck of a lot more of them that I'm just not going to spend the time with. So I don't deal with them. You know, I ignore them. And, you know, the thing is, if you're the one who's putting out that content, you can block that also, because you don't have to take all that heat. But none of this is new. The same thing happens on YouTube. I can't remember what the guy's name is, but like a couple of weeks ago, someone who's kind of a big time YouTuber, you know, has over 100,000 people at least, put a post up, and I happened to catch it very early, so it didn't even have like 100 comments yet, but it had something, you know, in the 90s or whatever, and almost every single comment was a bot. None of it was real. They almost all said the same thing, or they had a bunch of emojis, and I'm like, wow, that's where we've gotten in YouTube world. And so I wrote something, said, well, okay, I just decided that you needed a real comment, so here it is. And then I wrote kind of a long comment, longer than I would usually write. But in essence, I'm thinking, you know what? You don't let the bots take it over. Now, some of the big YouTubers have got to that point where they say, you know, there's just too much of these things, and YouTube doesn't want to block any of it, so we'll just let it go. YouTube has actually put some things in. I've got filters on my channel so that if certain language is used, it will get it. The bots they say they're working on, I don't know, you know, where that will go at some point. But, you know, we have to get to a point overall where if something is offending us, go to something else. You know, there's public discourse at times that you just have to identify with and deal with if it's something that really means something in your life. If you've got people who are fussing at you because you support a woman's right to abortion and they're putting all this garbage out there, you know, you can block that stuff. Or if they have their own YouTube channel and you've got that hate, you can, you know, say something to them or you can report it. But if someone is doing something innocuous, I-N-O-C-T, I probably said that one wrong, but still, if someone is really saying something that doesn't bother you at all, leave it alone. If someone is against Black Lives Matter and they put all this stuff that sounds like it's white supremacist stuff or, you know, hate speech or whatever, ignore it, block it, get rid of it. You know, if it's hundreds of thousands of comments, and I don't know if anyone gets that many, but, you know, someone can get upwards of 50,000 comments. A lot of them are going to be bots. Don't worry about it. Don't get yourself riled up for stuff like that, because that just makes them happy. And eventually, YouTube will get them. Someone else will get them. But find something that actually makes some kind of sense to be mad at. You know, if you see a channel where someone is beating a dog or a cat or a child, yeah, report that. Don't just fuss on the channel, report that stuff. And that's had to have been done. It's been stuff that has shown up on YouTube that YouTube didn't catch because for some reason it didn't hit an algorithm. So pick your Pick your fights well. Pick your time well. And let's leave these big celebrities alone. You know, if you like if you like Valerie Bertinelli, okay, I've always been a fan of Valerie Bertinelli, then just like her for what she may put on her Instagram channel. She posted a picture of her house, and a lot of people decided to pound on her saying, well, your house doesn't look all that warm, and, you know, who would want to live there? Was that needed? Did you need that? She's selling the house, but did she really need that? No. I know you feel entitled to be able to beat up on somebody, but that's not right. So, anyway, that's my thing. Don't let yourself get all hot and bothered about the stupid stuff. There's a lot of really bad stuff. If you want to get yourself hot and bothered by, deal with that. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Told you it's going to be more opinion stuff lately. Y'all take care.